And now, please stand as I read the roll call of the men and women ruggers from our military family who have made the ultimate sacrifice. The United States Army, Major Guy Baratieri. First Lieutenant James Brierley. First Lieutenant Ben Britt. Lieutenant Randy Castro. Lieutenant Dimitri Del Castillo. Chief Warrant Officer Nicholas Damona. Lieutenant Joey Emai. Sergeant First Class Michael Fuga. Captain Jim Gerbitz. Staff Sergeant Robert Goodwin. Specialist Ryan Grandstaff. First Lieutenant Chris Greer. Sergeant First Class Justin Goff. Lieutenant James Harrison. First Lieutenant Chuck Hemingway. Captain John David Hortman. Sergeant Brett Jabbat. Lieutenant Colonel Dale Jensen. Sergeant Donald James Lamar. Sergeant James Landreth. First Lieutenant Weston Lee. Staff Sergeant Jeff Loa. Second Lieutenant David Lodwick. Sergeant Terry Lynch. First Lieutenant Tom Martin. Corporal Stephen Michael McGowan. Lieutenant Zach Miller. Specialist Avialo Milo. Sergeant First Class Matthew Nyman. First Lieutenant Bill Pahissa. Sergeant Anthony Peterson. Staff Sergeant Kevin Casey Roberts. First Lieutenant David Sackett. Sergeant First Class John Sanchez. Captain Bob Serio. Specialist Cody Sisk. Captain Christian P. Skoglund. Captain Garrett C. Slaughter. Major Robert Soltis. Captain Scott Spaniel. Second Lieutenant Claire Thurston. Sergeant First Class Frank Tiahi. First Lieutenant Laura Walker. Staff Sergeant Kyle Ray Warren. Captain Ian Weichel. Corporal Matthew James Wargo. The United States Marine Corps. Major Dan Engeloff, Jr. Sergeant Bronson Babcock. Lieutenant Colonel Brett Becken. Lance Corporal Richard Bursetta. Lieutenant Colonel Justin Constantine. Lance Corporal Chris Cosgrove III. Lance Corporal Michael Glover. Major Jeremy Graycheck. Lieutenant Colonel David Green, Major Ryan Hansen, Lance Corporal Eric Hersberg, Sergeant Christopher Jacobs, Sergeant Donald Lamar II, Sergeant Aaron Lawson, Major John Lee, Captain John Maloney, Major Kevin Nave, Sergeant William Pascal, Corporal Ron Payne, Gunnery Sergeant Cap Pelletier, Captain Michael Quinn, Captain Patrick Rappacolt, Major John Rucoco, Staff Sergeant Joshua Sanchez, Sergeant Adam Scholler, Staff Sergeant Andrew Seif, Second Lieutenant Christopher Shea, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Shea, Corporal Jared Shoemaker, Lance Corporal Deontay Snow, Staff Sergeant Josh Stone, Major Keith Takabayashi, Corporal Tyler Trevelyan, Staff Sergeant Alan Walker, Corporal Matthew Wargo, Staff Sergeant Jeremy Woodruff, Major Alan Ziegler. United States Navy. Lieutenant Jared Allen, Lieutenant Commander Tom Blake, Lieutenant Glenn Campbell, Hospital Corpsman John Freilish, Lieutenant Brian Hoke, Lieutenant Junior Grade Nick Juron, Lieutenant Jason Kreuter, Lieutenant James Merrill, Gunner's Mate Sean Michael Pushian, Gunner's Mate Luke Ramo, Lieutenant James Search, Lieutenant Wes Van Dorn, Ensign Van Wilson. United States Air Force. Colonel Dick Baddock, Luis Arauz Chang, Captain Scott Craven, Master Sergeant Robert Deck, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Galetti, Captain Nicholas Jose Gorigolzari, First Lieutenant Alan Hooks, First Lieutenant Wes Kissel, Lieutenant Colonel Hank Nellinger, Lieutenant James Merrill, Captain Victoria Pickney, First Lieutenant Laura Piper, Major Adriana Vorderbruggen, United States Coast Guard, Seaman Sean Diebenport, Marine Science Technician John Lewis. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of the United States of America.
Go,